actually started goofing both in Tucson and Sacramento in stand-up comedy. Wasn't particularly good at it. I found that the bar was pretty high to make people laugh. I found that that same bar with that same material was far lower in poetry nights. So I just sort of made the stand-up comedy into more poetry and did the same stuff at poetry nights and got huge response and decided that I was a stand-up poet. Cafe Rainbow was a weird coffee collective. It's kind of arty, but not really. They had an open mic poetry night with a twist. They had a bunch of funky musicians jamming while the pupils would do their very serious poetry. The keyboardist was Sean Jones, who I used to eat lunch with sometimes in high school, was best friends with Ron Benway, and this guy I didn't know named Brian Weiss.
All these musicians would come and support these poets. The poets would read poetry, and the musicians would kind of openly jam behind them.
Well, a good portion of the poetry was very depressing. It was, I want to kill my mother, this tree digs down to hell, and we'd play dark, depressing music in the background. And then David Figler, who I hadn't really seen since high school, he got up and he did this poem that was basically funny. It was like a joke. And Brian and I looked at each other and like, what do we play for that? We just started doing a little jam, and then Figler was talking over it, and it was really funny. And
so the funny poems kind of went with their weird, quirky aesthetic, and we just decided after doing this open mic a couple times that it might be fun to set the poems to an actual structured bit of music.
I was joking. I was like, this should be a band, just the three of us. We'll play the music, you talk, and we do that.
Did an ad in music for a drummer, and a drum machine answered it, so we were able to incorporate a drum machine into the act as well.
We were going to call ourselves Tippy, because at the time, David had a zine out called Tippy, from the Draw Tippy, the little turtle thing.
I really was obsessed at the time with the ridiculous scam of the Draw Me Turtle, Tippy, the Draw Me Turtle, on the back of matchbooks, and you would send it in and you could become a famous artist. I thought it was a really funny scam if you could draw these things, because most people, I would imagine, would just trace it. So I traced it, made that the cover of my zine, and it became the Tippy zine.
I think one of our first shows was at the Huntridge, and it was a benefit. We were like in the middle of the day at like 1 o'clock, and it was just so bad. It was funny and good. I had a drum machine that would just turn on by itself, and it was pretty hysterical.
And then somebody who had not seen us but had heard that we had a band that was kind of funny asked us if we would open for Mojo Nixon. Mojo Nixon was going to perform at a venue on Maryland Parkway called Favorites.
And they said, what's the name of your band? And Figler said, Tippy Elvis.
We decided that what we would do is change the name every gig. The second name would be a iconic music performer. Mojo Nixon had a song at the time called Elvis is Everywhere, which was pretty popular, and he had kind of this Elvis thing going, so we decided, okay, for this show we'll be Tippy Elvis, maybe the next show will be Tippy Dylan, maybe the next show will be Tippy Grateful Dead.
And so we showed up for the show, and Mojo Nixon's looking at it, these three guys, geeky, nerdy guys, and said, which one of you's Elvis? And we're like, well, really, it's a jam poetry band, kind of. And he was like, I'm going to go on first, you go on last. So he went on, we went on after, and we did a cover of Shaft, where Figler was changed the words. He lost his job, he got the shaft. And the loudest laughing voice you heard was Mojo Nixon.
There was maybe 5 people in the audience when we performed, none of whom were Doug Jablin. However, Doug Jablin decided to write a review of our show based on the 5 people who were there and put it in music as a review of this new band, Tippy Elvis. The tie-breaking vote was the drum machine, who voted to stay with Tippy Elvis as our name forever, and we still perform as Tippy Elvis to this day to 5 people.